And we're live.
Excellent.
Woo-hoo. Cool. So, looks like we already have a few people joining in. Awesome.
Excellent. Nice to see you all as well.
Aloha.
So, for those not familiar with the 501st cast, we usually like to try to start out with some stats. So, we figured we'd keep up with that tradition even when we go live. So right now, the 501st Legion is at 14,363 active members with 30,796 approved costumes. So at the moment, our newest member on 501st.com is David Nightingale. He's TK84098. Let's see what costume. He has a New Hope stunt stormtrooper. Hey, he's Midwest Garrison. Maybe Marcus knows him. Or no, you're Mid-South, sorry. So there is our new member on 501st.com. You can always go to 501st.com and get the stats at any time.
Those costume counts seem to be going up. So many people are, looks like, finishing some costumes in the last few months.
Yeah, for some reason, maybe people had some free time.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of good things, that are happening. Like, things, a lot of focus inward, and doing a lot of projects and costume building and things like that. So it's good to see that a lot of people are, having some time and effort to complete more costumes. Great to see.
Try to find those silver linings and lemonades out of lemons and that sort of stuff.
Making the most of staking at home.
Yeah. So I suppose before we get too much further, we should introduce ourselves for people who aren't familiar with our podcast. I'm Nikki, DZ8397, and I'm from Garrison Excelsior, which is Upper New York.
I am Marcus, TK14057 of Mid-South Garrison, which is Tennessee.
I'm Todd, and I'm TBTI10078 from Imperial Sands Garrison, which is Southern California, below SoCal and over to the Arizona border.
And then we have a guest with us this time.
Hello, I'm Calais, ID 51575 of the Pacific Outpost.
Oh, thanks for joining us.
Welcome.
We put out the call internally to have to try to have a guest this time. So Calais was the first one who signed up. So you're our guinea pig.
Yay.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. We're really happy to have you here and join us for this Q&A.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, tell us a little bit about Pacific Outpost. How many members does it presently have? How long have you been a member?
I've been a member for 3 or so years, maybe. I think I made 3 years in 2001 in January. And we have around 40 something members active. But yeah, we're still an outpost. I don't think we're going to change from an outpost to Garrison. But we definitely have to keep Pacific Outpost in the name.
Yeah, I know we all get really attached to names and logos and whatnot. So for those listening who aren't familiar, when a region starts up, they can be an outpost, and so they only need one member to be an outpost, as long as there's no neighboring garrison within, I don't know if there's a certain mile limit or anything like that, but you only need one member to start an outpost. And then once you get up to 25 members, you could petition to become a garrison, or you don't have to. It's just one of those sort of fictional naming schemes that we were going with. So
yeah. And the Pacific Outpost celebrates their 20th anniversary this year.
Oh,
20
nice.
years
Excellent.
bringing, enforcing Order 66 in Paradise.
Yeah, so your outpost territory is really all of the Hawaiian Islands, right?
all the Hawaiian Islands
Yep.
and Guam and Tahiti for a time.
Okay.
But I think that member in Tahiti retired some time ago.
Hmm. And is that a shore trooper helmet I see back there?
That is an AT-ACT trooper,
Oh,
which I
okay.
managed to finish
Yeah.
during this quarantine.
Excellent. Did you recently just get approval on that?
I did. I just
Yeah.
recently.
Oh, nice.
Very happy.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Happy to join the ACD, the Armored Cavalry Division.
So that's kind of a good segue. So for those who aren't familiar, we have what are called detachments or costume specialty groups within the 501st Legion that focus on our different costumes. I think there's 16 now. There was 15 for the longest time. So we have each of those detachments has independent forums set up where you can go and get all the answers you could ever seek about the costumes you're trying to build. I mean, obviously you can also get help from your local unit as well. But those are really where the experts kind of gather, is on our detachments. Let's see. Now we got Badlands, UK Garrison, Georgia, France.
Yeah, so we're here doing a Q&A today. Ask us anything. You know, we've got our special guest here from Pacific Outpost. Anything you want to know about their region? Of course, he's here to help guest hosts with this, Q&A, whether or not you're an existing member and have any questions about, you know, adding new costumes or new CRLs, anything that we can try to help with. Prospective members, if you have any questions about how to join the Legion, how do you, find information, what are the requirements? We do have a lot of information already posted in several web areas, which we'll definitely highlight, I'm sure, during the course of this Q&A session. But yeah, bring them on, bring on your questions. Let us know anything that is, burning in your mind, about, how to get involved or, what we do. Yeah, bring it on up. We'd be happy to try to help.
Yeah, go ahead and post in the comments here on the Facebook Live. Let's see, one was, did we watch the Wizard World Live virtual panel? I did not. Did any of you guys?
No, I have not.
No, sorry.
Wizarding World?
Wizard World. I actually have not gotten into the whole virtual convention thing. I guess.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't really watched any virtual conventions yet.
I've done a couple, not Star Wars related, but I watched one for Gotham, and that was just a one-time Wizard World. There was, of course, being in San Diego Comic-Con is, of course, something I've been attending for many years, and they did a really nice job of doing a lot of live panels this year. So I watched a lot of those.
All right, so it looks like we have a question from Alex, and he says, do you have to have a cosplay to join? So to join the 501st Legion, one of the aspects of the application is that you do have a completed costume. However, you can join your local garrison forums, the detachment forums, the membership forums for those local units. There's usually always open forum areas for recruits on there. So before you have your cosplay, you're going to want to join the forums, introduce yourselves to your local units, and get in contact with them so that they can help you from the beginning, instead of you just kind of springing up out of nowhere and saying, here, I have a completed costume, please approve it. Because there might be some aspects to your costume that are not quite approvable. So we want to help you from the start before you put any investment in. So kind of a yes or no answer. You can't get a full 501st membership without a costume, but you can still be part of your local community before you have your costume, as far as interacting with them. Sometimes there's opportunities to go and volunteer at the events as either there's squire, wrangler, handler, non-costume support. There's a whole bunch of names that we use for that kind of person that assists the costumers at at a troop.
Hey, Calais, in your
Yes.
region, what do that you call the non-costumed helpers at events?
Oh, we call them handlers.
Yep.
It's handlers are usually friends of the family or friends that we've met at conventions that are in good standing, and they just want to help out. And most of them they want a costume, and we try to help them from the start. But I can understand that it's a little daunting, a little maybe you're a little nervous introducing yourself for the first time, and I completely understand that. But we're all friendly and we want to help, so please just introduce yourselves. Say hi, and then we can chit chat. Talk about Star Wars.
Yep. Let's see.
There
Looks
was,
like we have another question.
there was a question by Alex. He asked if they're members in Oregon, and they are. Our Cloud City Garrison covers that state, and so if you go to the 501st.com and then you go to our community and then unit listings, you can see, you can browse by garrison and or by name, and then you can see who is a member there, and you can contact the member, or you can contact the any of the GMLs or garrison membership liaisons, and you can go from there.
Yeah, to talk a little bit about, we've talked about garrisons and outposts, but for the uninitiated, essentially, the whole world is broken out into territories, that are based on the number of members in each region, and some, most of the time these are called garrisons if they have over 50 members. Like Calais region there, Pacific Outpost, said they have less than 50 members, so they're called an outpost. And as long as the garrison, has at least 50 members in that region, they can have garrison status. Some garrisons have a huge number of members. I think, was it probably Germany is probably one of the largest, I believe.
Yeah, we probably should look that up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure Germany is the largest.
Yeah.
But
Other
the
ones,
minimum is 25 members, isn't it?
is it 25 now for a garrison? I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, I misspoke. Yeah. Thank you, Calais.
no problem. So-
and then so that's how the regions are broken up, and then the costumes themselves are broken out into different detachments. And so, like Nikki said earlier, with like armored cavalry, let's say Calais, what are some of the other costumes in the armored cavalry
So the
detachment?
armored cavalry has the first one that was ever seen, the AT-AT driver from Empire Strikes Back. You can see them driving the AT-AT in front of General Veers in the movie. So I believe they were the first to be in the CRL for the armored cavalry division. And they also have the AT-RT driver, and from Rogue One, you can see a ACD costume, the tank commander, I think it was called. Yeah, and my costume, the ACT driver, you can see them on the beaches of Scarif driving the big ACT walker, and sometimes that doesn't go well for the drivers.
So 993 is the German garrison count at the moment.
Wow.
All right, so it looks like we have
Almost
a couple more
1,000 members.
questions.
Wow.
Mike said, is armor approved in the 501st, or do we need to make our own? So you do need to own your own costume, but you don't have to literally be the only person involved with the entirety of its creation from the absolute beginning to the end. This kind of almost works into another question that was posted about, is there any financial help for new recruits? So we don't offer literal financial help, but we have an abundance of resources at the local level and at the detachments to try to help you spend your money wisely. So we don't have any dues for the 501st Legion. That's kind of the expense of your costume is your membership fee, so to speak. But we want to make sure that you're getting the best advice that you can so that you're not spending money on something that's not approvable. So that's kind of our financial assistance plan, is sort of like a financial advisor than an actual money lender.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that you don't just go off on eBay and buy something that supposedly the seller lists that as 501st approvable, but you really want to run that by your local unit and the detachment before. Like Leonardo, it looks like he said, how can I know if my Kylo Ren helmet is approvable? So that's something that you can work with for Kylo Ren. Your garrison membership liaison, which is the GML, you can send them photos of the helmet before you buy it. You can send them an Etsy link or something like that to say, I'm looking at this helmet. Would this be approvable? And if the pictures are good enough, usually they can tell pretty much from the pictures. And you also want to work with the attachment, which I can never remember because Kylo is dark side, but he's still Sith Lord detachment,
Sith
right?
Lord, yeah.
Even though he's not a Sith Lord designation. So you want to go to the Sith Lord detachment, which you can access through 501st.com.
And maybe this would be a good time to talk about our CRLs as well. So CRLs is the costume resource listing. And on our website is the CRL for, how many do we have now? It was like 350, 400? Anybody know?
Most of them probably clones.
Over 500.
We're at 500 now.
Yeah.
So as soon as somebody wants to make, a costume or wants to apply, then that's when like a CRL is created. And so go to the 501st website and you can look up the CRLs for, all the different 500 costumes that we have listed there. And it'll list most of the requirements for those with pictures as examples as well. It doesn't list, of course, everything, but at least it gives you a lot of the details. It'll be up to the your local garrison membership liaison, the GML, to actually approve your costume, because even if all the settings or all the specifications are correct, it also depends on how it fits you. An example I've used before is I made my biker scout costume, and everything was approvable based on the CRL, but the sleeves were very baggy on me. It was just too large. So because it didn't fit me well, it couldn't be approved like that. So I had to go and adjust those to make sure that myself in the costume looked, like I had stepped off the movie screen. So definitely use the CRLs. That's your first place really to take a look and see what's approvable. What are the requirements. Next, that your detachment forums will be of great help because they're the costume experts. So like we said, for armored cavalry detachment, for Sith Lord detachment, etc. And then your local garrison or territory, forums or representatives.
I want to add to that about comfort and also about the previous question, what was it, like cost advisor. The my first costume approved was a ISB officer, and I had gotten boots for it. And the boots are the most expensive part of my costume, of course. And but they didn't fit me well. They fit me well enough to get me approved, but they were never comfortable whenever I put them on. And I regret not getting custom boots. I have since gotten custom made boots, but the fit is definitely one of the most important things about the costume. That if you're approved and it's not comfortable, you're gonna have to end up forking over more money than you originally intended. So that's also something you need to consider when getting a costume put together.
Yeah, because a lot of our appearances consist of, standing, for hours at a time posing for pictures sometimes, and you're going to want to have nice footwear or it's going to be miserable.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to add something about the financial question as well. One of the great things that I have found, particularly, and I know a lot of our members have, is how helpful other members in the Legion are. And so a lot of people bring different skills, to the table. And you might be able to, possibly, do a trade for services, have somebody make something for you, you make something for them, or, some people will, be really helpful with that. Many of our members will also, be available for commissions to be able to make certain parts. And so for the financial aspect, it's a question of what are your skills? What can you bring? What can you do yourself? Anything you can do yourself, you're going to save a lot of money on. If you have to commission it to somebody else and have them build that, well, then it's going to cost you more. So there's a lot of options there, a lot of considerations, on how you build your costume and what you can, do yourself.
Yeah, another way that the community aspect of the 501st Legion is able to help sort of in a financial way is often units will have what we call armor parties, where we all get together, bring our different props and costumes that we're in the middle of working on, and sort of work on them together. It's obviously been a little difficult doing that the past few months, but that was a good way to, if you don't want to sink the money into a Dremel tool or something like that. If you're going to an armor party and other people are bringing their tools, that's something that you can borrow for the duration of the armor party to put your thing together. Or say you don't have, tin snips or something, which is something that people use to trim out their armor. That's another way you can sort of save a little money on construction tools if you go and go to an armor party. Or if they're doing like a group build, I know we had a bunch of us in our garrison were going to make Jawas together. So instead of just each person going off and buying their pieces, we did a bulk order of different things, material or Velcro or snaps or, whatever you need to buy. So that's another way to try to keep costs down on costume building.
And speaking of Jawa, I see there's a Jawa question. So Nikki, you're probably best handled to answer that one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we've got like 3 more. We have to make sure not to skip them. So Brianna, can anyone recommend where to get eyes for the Jawa? So I don't have like a literal website that I could give you as far as go here, put them in your, Amazon shopping cart and you're done type deal. But I would recommend going to Crate Clan, which is the 501st Legion detachment for Jawas. And there's going to be lots of different build threads and tutorials on there on how others have made their Jawa eyes. I don't think there's a one set way to make them. Should have brought my Jawa out. He's still packed because I haven't been trooping him. But actually, oh yeah, I don't know if you can get yours off of your shelf. See how you did your eyes. Mine are like these giant amber beads that are like half a bead. They're like semicircles. And then we put lights behind them. So that's how mine are. Other people have just used just plastic domes that they've painted on the inside and put lights behind them. Yours look sort of similar to mine.
Yeah, I bought mine, so I don't know how they're made, but it's Rihanna, if you contact me, I can definitely give you a direct, contact person. They're pretty comfy. It's like a hockey mask. If you just need the eyes, I'm sure that person can help you as well. But this is
yeah,
how it looks.
And so this is where the detachment forums would be great. So that's the Crate Clan, Nikki?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's KRAYT. So look up the Crate Clan forums, and so you have lots of recommendations there.
Yeah, I don't know if we have an easy link just to go to our detachment. I think it's 501st.com/resources.php. And that'll bring you to the list of all the different detachment names, what costume they cover, where their forums are, all that. We should also plug 501st.com/join. That'll give you all the bare bones basic information of how you should start getting in contact with your local unit and getting in contact with the different detachments and things like that.
And I just confirmed that link was correct that you just gave, Nikki, 501st.com/resources.php.
Okay. Yeah,
Yep.
so all these detachment names that we've kind of been throwing out, if you look on that listing, then that'll bring you to their websites. Because I used to have some of them memorized, and then some people changed their URLs, and now I have to think, do I have the right URL? Do I don't have the right? So yeah, just go to 501st.com and that'll be updated. All right, so I think we got at least 3 or 4 questions here that we may have kind of skipped.
Yeah. There's one from, I think, Sammy. Yeah, Sammy Spittles about trooping abroad.
Okay.
So the question is, can you meet or do troops abroad with another 501st group? Example, someone from UK to meet up a troop in another country. I know I have experience with this. Do other people as well?
Yeah, I have too. Members would come here for vacation in Hawaii, and sometimes they'll bring their kids with them, or they'll just bring their 501st shirts and handle for us. It's always fun meeting other members from other places. I know if I've had people from Australia and New York, New Zealand, and yeah, that's always a fun part. But yeah, it's absolutely possible to troop in other places. I hope to do that one day.
That's the way to do that, and that's really with any trooping abroad, meaning it could also be just in a different state. I would, if they have a forum, I would join that forum and state your intention. Or you can again go to the 501st.com website and contact the GML of that state or country, and just I would start there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely let us know on the detachments so that we can. I mean, on the forums, so that we know you're coming, and then we can hopefully set up a meet and greet.
I really enjoy trooping with other groups or meeting other 501st members in other regions. I remember there was a member from the Nordic garrison that was visiting San Diego last year. So that's what he did. He came on to our forums and he's like, hey, I'm going to be visiting. I won't be trooping, but would anybody like to get together for dinner? So a few of us did. We went out, we had dinner and, did some, gave some local patches and, so yeah, even if it's not a trooping event, even just going to another place and seeing if people are interested in getting together and, and trading your garrison patch or something too is always a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we have all the differentiations between the different garrisons and whatnot, we're all 501st members. Just wherever you're vacationing, just give people a heads up and you can always hang out. All right, so DP Vaders is asking, I'm currently building another R2 unit. Can I join then? So I'm sort of misadvertising here, but R2 builders are a separate club from the 501st Legion. So I guess we to backtrack a little bit and give the spiel that there's a greater Star Wars costuming community that the 501st Legion is just like a sixth of, or however many groups there are nowadays. So we focus on all the bad guys from the Star Wars universe. Our sister group, the Rebel Legion, focuses on the good guys. The R2 builders, or I think they've expanded to droid builders because there's also the mouse droids and any kind of other droids. That's another. There's Mandalorian Mercs, which focuses on the Mandalorian armor subculture there. And sometimes there's overlap between the groups, but there's not an overlap between the 501st Legion and droid builders. I don't believe there's any droid costume, unless you count like Forlom. as a
There's all
droid
this-
costume for the 501st Legion.
Warlong,
General
Triple
Grievous.
Zero, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not that astromech
Yeah,
type
not
costume.
Astromechs.
Yeah.
So now that said, even though there's, separate clubs that you can't just build a droid and be a member of the 501st Legion, we, in most areas, we all work together, and when the 501st Legion gets an invite for something, we pass that along to our sister group saying, who wants to join, as long as there's not some crazy limit on how many characters can go to the event. Usually it's opened up to others. So you're often trooping together, but it's not a dual membership thing. Although speaking of dual membership and Jawas, so there are some costumes like the Jawa and Tusken Raiders and some or all of the clone troopers, which with a single costume you can apply for membership in both the 501st Legion and the Rebel Legion. So there are a couple quirky exceptions, but R2 is not one of them for 501st.
Yeah, they're definitely separate clubs, but most members are members of more than one club, so they always end up in the same troop more than not. Especially here in Hawaii, where is such a small area, and all our members are all on one island, with an exception to Maui and the Big Island. But yeah, we try to open up our forums to all the clubs, and recently we had an R2 builder, which we're happy to have. I mean, everyone loves R2. Everyone sees R2 running around. Everyone just smiles and laughs.
Yeah.
But yeah, we also have Rebel Legion here, and some of our members like are Jawas and Tuskens and clone troopers, so they're also Rebel Legion members too. And yeah, it's all part of this bigger Star Wars costuming community, which we're all a part of, and we had to work together. We had to work together to bring smiles to our community.
Definitely. All right, where are we on the question list? So Jean-Michel, do you think that the best way to approve a costume is having a specific team per costume, considering that it is difficult for a GML to know all the details of 500 costumes? So how the 501st does it, and if Jean-Michel is familiar with the Rebel Legion, they do kind of have a team review kind of thing over there, but ours is a bit different in that it is the responsibility of the GML to review your costume, but he or she constantly taps on the team at the detachment level for any questions, review. They have their whole working structure going on there where they can, post up pictures of the costume that they are working on reviewing and ask for help on any components. So it is true that the GML doesn't need to know the exact details of all of the costumes in the 501st Legion, and that's why they can reach out to the detachments at any time to supplement that knowledge.
Yeah, and that resource is extremely helpful because nobody's an expert of all the costumes, so we definitely need help as a GML myself. That link to the detachment leaders and the CRL team is very important, and because we want to make sure that everything is done right and that the costume looks as best as it could be, and we definitely have to help it along, and the detachment leaders they definitely help us do that.
Yep, and I think it's a good blend of having the resource team at the detachment level, but the local GML at the local level. Because depending on the size of your garrison, you can physically see the costume in person in some cases to review it, which might not take place if the only review team was some upper level review team that it's not even in the same country, perhaps. So that's how it works for us. Let's see what else.
Looks like the next question was,
Brianna?
so we did that one. That was the Jawa eyes. Oh, you're right. She's got another question though. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, you want to take that
Nikki.
I did it last Brianna question. You do this, Brianna.
All right. So she says, when you become a member, are you only able to talk to people in your area, or is there a larger forum for everyone? So yeah, good question. I think most of kind of the interaction with people outside of your own area is probably on the detachment forums, or because those are the ones about the costumes worldwide, but about the specific costumes under that detachment. There are a set of 501st, general forums as well, which I think really are for certain specific, activities such as coordinating for like a celebration event and things of that nature.
And there are some chit chat type threads on there too, on the main 501st Legion forums. And there's, of course, all of the merchandising sales are on the main 501st forums because we can only sell our own merchandise to ourselves. So those are all housed on there. But yeah, I would say if you're looking to interact with people outside of your garrison, detachments, or signing up for other garrisons forums. I know since I'm in upstate New York, I'm only 3 hours away from Toronto, but I'm 6 hours away from New York City. So I actually regularly troop with our Canadian garrison. So I joined their forums years and years ago. And well, that's kind of like our second home as far as interacting with them as a 501st community.
Robin is asking, who is also our quiz host, any costumes now currently in CRL that you would like to see pop up next? I've been playing Squadrons for over a week now, and there's some very nice looking pilot costumes out there, some nice variants. So I would love to see some of those being adapted to our CRLs. Yeah, it's really nice ones. Check it out if you have a chance.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing probably to mention is that we don't just have a CRL for the classic Stormtrooper because there are so many variants. We have a reference library for each variant. So if you're trying to make the one from A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi or Rebels or Mandalorian, they're all a classic Stormtrooper, generic category. But that's just our niche is to research these costumes and find out all the differences between them. So there are different variation CRLs for each iteration of the quote unquote same costume.
Yeah. And maybe we can touch on the process of getting a new CRL. If you see a costume that is not a CRL, but you want to do that, then you need to gather all the reference material you can get, as much as you can, and then build your costume from that reference. And then there's like a process with the detachment that would be appropriate for that costume. Then you can hopefully become the CRL of that costume. So one day I would like to see the Sith Eternal officer. Those look awesome.
But don't work in a vacuum. Like, don't go off and do all the research and build the costume and then come to us. Go to the detachment, bring them all your research. Maybe someone's working in, parallel with you. And see if there's threads about the new costume that you're trying to do and make sure you're not, duplicating efforts and work as a team.
Yeah, usually there's a build thread for new CRLs. Anybody who's trying, they would like log their progress and give like a sort of like a progress report on the forums, and eventually, hopefully, it'll lead to an approval. Like for our only Wookiee here in the Pacific Outpost, the Black Chrysanthemum. He ended up becoming the CRL for Black Chrysanthemum, the bounty hunter Wookiee, and that was a exciting process to get the approval of the approval pictures, and all the little tweaks he had to do was, yeah, it was a long strenuous process, and he's brave for doing all of that. But yeah, he everything came out great, and we were super proud of him.
Yeah, would want to enforce that even more, saying that work with the detachment whenever, if you are wanting to build a costume that there isn't already a CRL for. One of the things that no GML really wants to do is deny an application, right? And so the best way to do that is get them involved early, and meet your other garrison members if you can, or try to use those resources as you go along, so that way you don't get too far along and then be like, okay, here's my application, I'm ready, and then have it be denied for certain reasons. If you involve other members and GML along the way, it may prevent you from going down any paths that might be costly or time consuming that you may have avoided or been able to avoid had you involved those resources earlier. Because definitely we want to help you as much as possible to with your build process, so that way when you're ready for the application, you put that in, the GML just kind of goes done, right? Is that right, Calais?
Yep, that is
Yeah.
absolutely right.
That's exactly what he does.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always a happy time trying to giving somebody the good news that they've been approved, and I always try to be as helpful as I can and walk them along the process. But yeah, definitely have to communicate with us. Try to get us as early as you can. Um, just ask questions, ask anything. Just whatever costume you wanted to do. Just ask for help. It's not something to be ashamed of, asking for help. Everyone needs help. So yeah, we are definitely always happy to help and give advice, point you in the right direction, and yeah, you just gotta let us know.
Yeah, it's amazing how many little details there are until you get familiar with a costume. Again, I'll use my biker scout as an example. Just knowing, there are these hip boxes that are attached by straps to the front and back of the belt. Should those be 6 inches from the belt, 4 inches? No, really, it's actually more like 1 to 2 inches. And if you're not entirely familiar about that, then it's like, well, having that assistance while you're doing that will make things easier rather than submit. And because that specification might not be in the CRL, but the look is shown in the pictures and in the reference material.
And similar to what you were mentioning earlier, sometimes we can't put exact dimensions of how far away some piece is from another piece because it's proportional to you. So what, my bandolier straps on my Jawa might be a certain dimension because of my height, but they're going to need to be longer or shorter or whatever, depending on someone else's body type. So we can't say, you must buy a bandolier that is such and such inches long, because that's not going to work for everyone.
And Nikki, that
segue.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly where I was going with that, Clay. You go for it.
It's actually a good segue to the next question. Shall I read it?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah. Mikhail Shipper, he asks, I have a question. I am almost 2 meters tall, and I think I will stand out in a bad way as a stormtrooper. What do you guys think? I say no. You're not going to stand out too much, because there are tall Jawas, there are short stormtroopers. It doesn't matter what your body type is. matters how the costume fits on you. And getting a TK kit definitely helps for your body type. I think some makers, they'll make one for bigger people, but the the costume itself, you can be a 2 meter tall stormtrooper towering over another Darth Vader that's only like my height, 5'10", but yeah, it doesn't it shouldn't affect um, your approval process.
Yeah, it definitely won't affect your approval whatsoever, whatever your height is. Um, it, like we have said a few other times, it just needs to look proportionally correct on you.
Yeah. Now, if you're, say, 7 feet tall and you're trying to build a stormtrooper, well, that again won't affect approval as long as you have the parts that fit. And, with a standard, TK kit, they only make them probably certain sizes. It's easier to cut down than it is to enlarge them. And so, let's say, if you're 7 feet tall, you're going to have large, black areas in between your armor pieces, and so that would probably be the biggest problem with that. And Marcus, I know you're quite a TK expert. Do you have any other comments on that regarding, like, do makers make larger, longer pieces for the taller members?
They do. I've so 2 meters is almost 6 feet 7 inches. I've seen people that tall wearing TK armor, and it looks just fine. Obviously they stand out, but I think that's kind of interesting to me. I'm 6'2". I stand, sometimes over Vader's, just like Calais said. But it's again, yeah. I mean, to answer your question, Todd, yes, makers do make the kits that would fit that height. Yeah.
And so I mean, like, I'm 6 foot, and one of my costumes is a TIE pilot. And then, once you've got the boots on, that adds another inch or two, and that helmet is quite a bit. I'm pretty tall TIE pilot, and I remember one event where we had a Vader that I was a little bit taller than. So what I would do is just kind of stand a little further back when taking pictures and kind of hunch down a little bit. It looks fine. But yeah, if we were to stand shoulder to shoulder, we would be, about the same height. And but there are definitely things you can do to, play with that as well. You know, you can also, many troopers, stormtroopers will get the, "Hey, aren't you too short for a stormtrooper?" People love that line.
Oh
And
yeah, one of my members
know,
gets that a lot.
yep.
All right. So it looks like Brianna has another question. If I move temporarily, is it better to apply to my local garrison or the one I will move back to temporarily, as in a couple years? So transferring from garrison to garrison is really simple. Basically, you just need to talk to the CO of each garrison and say, hey, I'm moving. Please move my record over to XYZ garrison. So, I mean, I don't know that you want to keep flip-flopping all the time, but I would say I would apply with the one you're going to be in while you're constructing your costume, so that perhaps you can get some potential hands-on assistance. But once you move, then you would just get your record transferred.
Yeah, and to touch on that, because the Pacific Outpost, here we get a lot of military members, so they'll bring their costumes from whichever state they're from, and then bring them here, and sometimes they'll ask for to transfer, and it's an easy process. But if you're not getting approved yet, and um, maybe you'll not finish in time by the time the move, I'll just sign up for both forms, because if you're not a member yet, then the approval, you'll be in the new garrison or outpost, and they can approve you, and then if you move back, they'll just transfer you back, and it's easy process.
I want to go back and touch on the height question. What's something I don't think we've addressed yet on this Q&A is the physical requirements regarding the costumes. And so this is really important, that there are no limitations. As long as the costume fits you well, then that is the most important thing. You can be a 7-foot Jawa, you can be a 4-foot Vader. We don't have any height, weight, any discrimination whatsoever as far as any of the costumes. Just because certain characters may look a certain way, doesn't mean that you necessarily need to. I think there are some that, if the character has facial hair, I think you're supposed to try to do that. I can't think of any 501st ones. I know Rebel Legion does,
I think Count Dooku. Count Dooku is one.
There we
has,
go. That's a good one.
Yeah, has
Good
facial
example.
hair and
Yep.
the hair color and slick back. That's also something that is in the CRL.
Yep.
But nothing about height, weight, body size, not even gender is an issue. It's just the costume and how it fits you. I mean,
Yeah.
to go back on gender, there is CRL for Thrawn and Hux, both of which are female costumers, and you can be that. You can do whatever you know. Then there's female stormtroopers, so the gender is definitely not an issue.
Yep. And for anybody that is, has any restriction as far as, if you have, any sort of, movement restrictions or, require wheelchair or walker or anything like that, that doesn't, have any bearing on it whatsoever either. So, we've seen many, people, Imperial officers or TIE pilots or anything that, that are, mobility restricted. And it doesn't matter, say there's no discrimination. So don't let any of that, come into play. Think, oh, well, I'm too big, I couldn't, possibly do that. No, you can, as long as the costume fits you well. If, say if you're too short, like, oh, I'm too short to be a stormtrooper. Well, I think your only limitation there is really just, because stormtroopers have hard armor pieces, and so those would just have to be trimmed and fit to you. I mean, that would be your biggest challenge probably. But as far as your own body type or anything, no restrictions.
Yep, I know we also have several members who are visually impaired, that they're off trooping with their sometimes helmeted costumes, sometimes unhelmeted costumes, and they're doing just fine.
I think everyone with the helmet is visually impaired, though.
Oh yeah, probably to a degree.
Good point.
So I noticed on Facebook, I don't know if Jim is still listening, but I guess when I mentioned my garrison early on, they asked, do you do many troops in Binghamton, New York? So obviously not this year, but yes, Binghamton is one of the cities that we regularly have events in when we're normally trooping. All right, someone want to take Josh's question?
I'll take it. So, Josh Durham, his question is, I'm currently working on a CRL for one of the branches and possibly another branch as the new shows come out. Is it better to write one in conjunction with it, or write both to just get them out there? The writing part isn't really the responsibility of the costumer. It's up to the detachment team and the CRL team. And so, like, going back to what I said before, if you're on the forums and you started a build thread of your progress, then once your costume is finished, I believe the detachment team will start writing a CRL and have you become the CRL if it's approvable.
I'm curious when he says for one of the branches and possibly another branch, if this is like a costume that's in both the 501st and Rebel Legion, or I don't know if that's what he means by branches.
Maybe detachment.
Maybe.
I assume that he's working on multiple CRLs. definitely multiple costumes that'll apply to different CRL, different detachments.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, yeah, just get involved with the detachments for those as soon as possible. And if there isn't a detachment assigned, well, then see if you can determine what detachment it is best, most likely to be assigned to. It might not be, but because they're, it might be assigned to a different one. Those things have to be decided higher up. But yeah, definitely reach out to the most likely CRL leaders and see if that's something that is already in process, if it's going to be assigned to that detachment, and say work with them on the build, and together you can get a CRL created.
I noticed someone on Facebook chimed in, when they post which areas they're from. Someone said that they're a member of the Galactic Academy in Pennsylvania. So that was one of the groups that I didn't touch on. That in case we have any younger folk watching right now, sorry to say that the adult costuming groups are limited to those 18 and older. So I guess those are our two main requirements: is you have to be 18 and you have to have a costume when you put in your application. However, the Galactic Academy is another member of the larger Star Wars family that is developed by the founder of the 501st Legion, that is open to anyone who is 17 and younger. So that group is also international, like all the other ones, but there are no costume requirements. Whatever you want to put together as your Star Wars costume is what it is. There are obviously some of the kids in the Galactic Academy that are, on the older end of the spectrum. They're starting to get a little bit closer to 501st costumes, but there are some on the younger end of the spectrum that just, pick out whatever the Halloween costume is on the rack that year for Star Wars, and that's their Galactic Academy costume. So definitely Google Galactic Academy, and if you're 17 or younger. And I know it's for some, once they get up to that 17, it's sort of a stepping stone. We've had a lot of kids that have kind of literally graduated from the Galactic Academy into the local 501st Garrison. So it's a good way to get into the costuming community for early on.
Trey's asking, I want to build a Stormtrooper armor. Where should I get a good starter armor? So as we mentioned before, I think the first good step is to go to our detachment, which is the First Imperial Stormtrooper detachment found at whitearmor.net. And you can register an account there, and you can browse the forums, and your question will definitely be answered, and you'll be guided into the correct direction, and they will help. There are thousands. I think that's our most popular costume, I believe, the Stormtrooper.
Likely.
It is.
And so they will definitely help you to get started.
We can never have enough Stormtroopers.
Definitely.
More the merrier.
You'll want to figure out which variation of the Stormtrooper you want to go after. But yeah, going back to never enough Stormtroopers, I don't know if people have, seen the old videos on YouTube when we performed with Weird Al Yankovic. But when he would take his tours across the country, he would ask us, as I normally put it, to be his backup dancers. And he wanted symmetry on the stage. So it was typically Vader in the middle and then pairs of Stormtroopers on either side. And there were some times early on that my garrison didn't have enough Stormtroopers. There were at least a couple of the concerts we had to decline because we did not have enough Stormtroopers. So you can never have enough Stormtroopers. Because you don't want to decline Weird Al.
So earlier we gave the stats about how many members and costumes we have. It looks like we have almost, it looks like 5,700 TK costumes that are approved in the Legion. So that's almost 1 in 3. with 14,000 members, so more than 1 in 3.
Yeah, and I think so. You're just looking at the TK designation.
Yes,
So that would
that's the full.
so that would cover classic as well as first order, I think.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
It just would not include the stormtrooper. Sorry, the sand trooper, the TD. There's almost 1,000 of those.
Yeah, that's a route that some of our members take. After they've worn their stormtrooper for a decade or so, and they notice it's getting yellow, they're like, "Hey, I can be a sand trooper now."
Yeah,
they convert that kit to something else and get a new, cleaner white one. All right. So we just about hit the 1 hour mark here, it looks like. I'm not sure if I'm seeing any new questions. So
wow.
People still have some last minute questions. Make sure to get them posted so we see them.
So Calais, how many approved costumes do you have in the 501st?
And for myself,
yeah,
I only have the 2 so far. Working on 3. The third one is the line officer, and I got all the pieces. I just need to fit it better. COVID has been not too good on my weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lucked out with the Jawa. I don't think I could outgrow that, hopefully.
Yeah. Good thing that it's loose fitting.
All right.
Oh, the tank commander?
Yeah.
The tank commander is loose fitting?
Oh no, the Jawa.
Oh yeah.
The Jawa's loose fitting with the hood and the cloak.
So we have a question from Steven. He says, what type of events does the 501st attend? So wearing my other hat, other than being one of the 501stCast co-hosts, I'm also the Legion-wide events coordinator. So I get to see a lot of the different events come through that the Legion gets to participate in, and there's a huge range. Everything that is either kids focused, charity focused, community focused, those are all things that we do on a regular basis. Anything that is promotional focused or retail focused, those are all events that we work with Lucasfilm on. So we have to make sure that they are okay with us doing promotions, obviously, because we are representing their brand. So those are things that you will see us occasionally do, but those are not like an all the time thing. We can't just go out and promote random companies. That's not kosher. But the other category that we've gotten away from in the last probably 10, 15 years, we don't do quite as many private events Legion wide as we used to in the beginning. Just kind of from time commitment. We've gotten so many other requests from charities and the community that often we're not able to have volunteers available for private events. Sometimes we do. We obviously make exceptions when we work with Make-A-Wish, and they reach out to us for if there's a wish child who has a birthday or some special event. We've often been called upon for when a Star Wars fan passes away. We will be an honor guard at their funeral. So there are some private things, but usually you're going to find us supporting charities. That's our major thing.
Yeah, and for events, definitely. Yeah, we miss the private events, but yeah, it's few and far between, and sometimes we can't make it. I mean, we're a volunteer organization, so if we have the time, we'll make it out there as much as possible. But yeah, ultimately, real life comes first, unfortunately. And
yeah, I suppose that's something that we could sort of reinforce is a lot of times when I talk to event hosts, they're shocked, literally shocked that we do not accept payment. We're not paid. No money is involved with we're a volunteer organization. And they usually have to ask that question of me like 3 times. They're like, "Are you sure?" Yes, I'm positive. The volunteer organization.
Yeah.
So, yeah, especially with how big we've grown and what we provide at an event, that's not something that people ever consider a free service. So yeah, it definitely shocks and mind boggles a lot of event hosts that they can't believe that we're just going to go and volunteer at, at their library or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. And
I think
sometimes you'll get an event host that is like really adamant about oh, excuse me, sorry. It's like sometimes you'll get an event host that is like really adamant about giving some sort of monetary donation, and of course we can't accept it, but we'll always recommend them to give it to like a charity of their choice. We if they don't know any, we'll always give them a list of charities that we have supported in the past, and yeah, we just ask that they make it in our name in the Pacific Outpost or for whichever unit it's for, and yeah, definitely that gives us just all the encouragement we need to keep going and keep doing good in our communities. And it's just fun being out in public in our costumes, showing off our costumes, making people happy, and seeing the kids smile. That is the only thing that is that we need. That's the most payment that we need.
Yep. Yeah, I guess that's a good time to plug our Make-A-Wish Endowment. We still have that going on. So anytime that an event host doesn't have their own, preferred charity, that's a good go-to that we already have this whole, website set up for. So wish.org/501stFan. Anytime anyone feels that they want to make a donation in the name of the 501st Legion, that's always a good place to go. And so it's all set up that goes right straight to Make-A-Wish.
For the events that the 501st normally does, it depends, I think, on by region, but essentially most of them are community and charity based. I know with our garrison, we do a lot of events for charity fundraisers, 5Ks, 10Ks, things like that, supporting everything from muscular dystrophy to Crohn's and colitis to to Make-A-Wish and all these different events. So that comprises a large number of events that we do. We also do a lot of library events, promoting like this month is Star Wars
That's
Reads.
True. We didn't mention that yet.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of Star Wars Reads events that we're doing primarily with libraries. Well, our garrison isn't really doing a lot of those, not like we used to due to COVID restrictions, but so a lot of those have moved online and things like that, but there is still a lot of events happening this month for Star Wars Reads.
Yep, that would be also a good time to mention that something that we've tried to set up that kind of sort of replaces our appearances for Star Wars Reads is we have our YouTube playlist on the 501st Legion's YouTube channel where you can go watch our members read Star Wars stories. So check out our YouTube channel, look for the 501st Storytime playlist. I'm not even sure how many videos we're up to now, but there's like dozens of different stories that you can listen to. From there's stormtroopers reading you stories, Emperor Palpatine will read you stories. There's a Jawa reading you stories on there. Lots of cute videos. Go check it out. All right, we have a question from Wayne, I think, that maybe we didn't touch on. It's always been in the back of my mind to do a docking bay Return of the Jedi Anakin. So no helmet, fake missing hand, etc. What group would that come under? So basically a helmetless Vader?
We have one of those in our garrison. We do. It's termed Darth Vader pre-armor, I think. So essentially, once he's turned to the dark side, but before he's battled with Obi-Wan on Mustafar.
Well, he's in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Oh, Return of the Jedi.
Took off his helmet.
Oh. Yep.
Yeah.
like end of life Vader.
I see. Oh yeah, yeah.
Is there a CRL?
I was thinking.
I don't know.
I was thinking pre-armor, not post-armor.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I've seen people costume that variation. Basically just without, well, they'll have like the chin piece, but not the rest of the bucket, and they'll be, you know, all pasty white with scars and everything. But I haven't looked it up to see if there's a CRL or not. It's never really been a costume I thought to pursue, so I didn't look it up.
Maybe you should.
Yeah. That would be the Sith Lord detachment. So if there's not already a CRL, that would be the group that it would fall under. All right. Looks like we're getting the little 5-minute warning there from behind the curtain saying that we have gone over our allotment of time and we should wrap it up. So yeah, thank you, Clay, for coming on and being our guest host.
It's my pleasure.
I know you signed up as EXO of Pacific Outpost. It didn't dawn on me that you would also have some GML knowledge, so that worked in perfectly. Yeah. A lot of our questions usually tend to be recruitment, so that's awesome. So hopefully folks had their questions answered. If not, we're going to be going through the comments later after this is done and, you know, follow up and answer some more questions. 501st.com/join basically is where you want to head to begin. That'll have really, you know, the bare bones steps that you need to take to get started. But really getting in touch with your local 501st garrison is the best first step. So thanks everyone for tuning in.
That was great. And thanks for Clay for joining us. Really is, yeah, wonderful to have you join us for this event. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, mahalo.
Mahalo.
Okay.